In the 7th Canadian federal elections that were held on March the 5th, 1891, one issue was the Prime Minister's health. That year he was turning 76, or had already turned 76, and clearly was past his prime. Besides, the Liberals had finally dumped Edward Blake, or he had voluntarily resigned, and instead a Quebecer, Wilfrid Laurier, also known as the Silver-Tongued Orator, had taken over. And this was already a tighter election than several of the preceding elections. Those voters who estimated that John A. Macdonald would hardly see a new federal election were correct. He died after a stroke in June 1891 and was succeeded by John Abbott. And since the Conservatives had not encouraged or groomed a politically effective successor for John A. Macdonald, or there was one potential politically effective successor, John Thompson, but he unfortunately passed away already in December 1894, followed by yet another weak and effective prime minister, and a controversial one, at that Mackenzie Bowell. And then in desperation the party turned to one of the fathers of the Canadian Confederation, Charles Tupper, and needless to say, the Conservatives would be soundly defeated in the next federal parliamentary elections in 1896. But in these ones, they still prevailed. The total number of parliamentarians remained at 215. The Conservatives still managed to increase their share of the popular vote to 48.6%, or about 377,000 votes. But the votes were unfavorably distributed for them, and their majority again declined, this time to 117 seats out of 215. The Liberals also improved their share of the popular vote, raising it to 45.2%, or about 351,000. The two-party dominant political system seemed firmly entrenched. The voter turnout fell to just 64.4%. 20 of the Conservative parliamentary group's members identified as Liberal Conservatives. 3 independent Conservatives were elected. A total of about 15,000 Canadian men, or 1.9%, voted for the independent Conservative candidates. 2 independents were elected. A total of about 6,400 men, or 0.8%, voted for the 4 independent candidates. 1 nationalist candidate was elected apparently by acclamation. 1 independent Liberal candidate was elected. A total of about 5,600 men, or 0.7% of the total, voted for the independent Liberal candidates. 1 nationalist Conservative candidate was elected, even though he only polled about 1,300 votes, or 0.2%. 14 candidates whose political affiliations were unknown and who received a total of about 17,000 votes, or 2.2%, ran in this election. None of them were elected. 2 candidates of the Equal Rights Party or movement ran, but they only received a total of about 2,500 votes, or 0.3%. Neither one of them was elected. 2 progressives ran. Only about 500 men, or 0.1% of the total, voted for them, and neither one of them was elected.